Talk today about how to thrive in pretty much any market. We were gearing it to a bad market, but to me, seller finance is going to work for a while because of the circumstances that we're dealing with. It's a new way of doing things and a new way for you to do things that your competition isn't doing. So, and I've always said to people, embrace change. So this is a little bit of a change maybe for you. We'll talk about that. If you embrace change and do things that are different, you'll be positioned in the marketplace as a problem solver, an innovative thinker. People generally respect that. And next time the market changes, you'll be in a good position with your business built. We still have some things going on that are a little odd, so we're going to talk about that. So you'll be all ready when it changes, and it will, because real estate is absolutely a moving target. At the end of the day, we're going to talk about, as soon as I get my slideshow going here. So there are many agents and companies that withhold seller financing from their clients. Is this okay? Are they supposed to do that? We agree with you. We're going to talk about that as well. There are exceptions to Dodd-Frank. We're going to talk about those. What are the SAFE Act and ATR? Of course, ATR's ability to repay, and that all comes under the CFPB rules. And what needs to be done with each. We're going to talk about change and what's going on now. And seller financing is an old concept. When I licensed, the interest rate was 20%. Guess what I learned first? Financing.
Sorry,
as a real estate agent. So here we are back, seller financing. It's done differently now, but here it is again. Everything comes back around. It's really sort of funny how that happens. We're going to help you to understand who benefits from seller financing and why, buyers and sellers, and how to get a quicker sale, how to double your potential buyers, what are the rules, and how do we comply with those, and what are the risks, and what do we talk about regarding those. And so who are we? I'm Pat Billheimer. I'm a lender. I have been a full-time real estate agent in a very strong Washington, D.C. market. I moved here and didn't want to be a real estate agent anymore. And so I'm a lender, and I enjoy lending. I've always been intrigued by lending. So the company that I work with does everything. Anything your clients need, we have available. We do reverse mortgages. We do regular traditional lending. We do hard money loans. And I can qualify buyers for the CFPB compliance. That's huge because most lending companies don't want their LOs to do that. So I'm a licensed loan originator, and I can do that for you. So if you have a buyer, call me. We can talk about it. I've done rehabs. I've done full-time real estate. I've done management. I managed a large office. I ran my own team for years. So I have a pretty broad spectrum of real estate, and I think I always enjoyed it when the LO I was working with knew real estate too. So I bring all of that. And this is Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave Franicki, and like Pat, I've been around this game for a long time. We're the same age bracket, so it's pretty self-explanatory on that. But for me, when I first moved, I moved to Cincinnati. I moved from Cincinnati to Portland, Maine. I became a realtor there, and my daughter's mother said, "I want that house." I said, "Okay." So I was a new realtor, no income, nothing to speak of. Knocked on the door. Guy said, "Yeah, I'll sell." So there was a house and 25 acres. Well, for FHA, you can't have all that land. So we broke the deal up. I got the we wrote the contract to close in 6 months, hoping I'd have some money, just praying I could get the 2% down and make it work, because I didn't know anything. So I got the house and 5 acres on an FHA, and he seller carried the other 20 plus acres. And out of that, then I did a subdivision, and out of that, it blew my real estate career right off the map in developing. So that was that time, and then from that time, moved eventually to here, building, developing, Tonopont Buckeye, fix and flips, the similar scenarios, Pat. I've been in LO a couple times in my life, back in '92, and then here in '02. And and then most recently, from '08 to '13, I did a lot of REO sales, and I closed a lot, hundreds. But what I saw was there was an opportunity there as things were evolving, because I saw the REO dying, and I saw non-performing notes, so I jumped into that space. When I say non-performing notes, I mean mortgages that were still deficient. So I bought those, they were all east of Mississippi, and started turning those into performing assets, whether it be through a deed in lieu or whatever. And as that was growing, I saw the need for seller carry and how that can work, because there's so many buyers in today's marketplace that don't fit the box because they don't qualify. So that's about us, but tell us about you. Let's do the introduction thing. You can wait, you get your mouth full. Art?
Yeah, my name is,
And also why you came.
yeah, my name is Art. I've had my license probably for about a dozen years. Just interested in getting some more CPE and learning as much as I can about real estate, would be the financing side, which is critical to purchasing and selling the asset. That's basically why I'm here today.
I'm Cheryl James, and I have had my license since 2003. I had it with Restline at one point, and then it's been inactive since then because I couldn't be on straight commission. And so I've been in the development market, commercial development market, working for commercial architects and general contractors doing business development and marketing. I'd like to switch into this area somehow, and so I'm trying to feel my way, and I'm in my last month of my grace period, so.
Good. Good.
I'm Shannon Sexton, and I've had a license for 14 years. And I need my renewal hours, but I'm also interested in seller financing, which is why I chose this particular class.
Okay.
I'm Megan Kalinowski. I'm a Home Smart agent right here at the Desert Ridge office, and I'm working on a couple fix and flip things for my own stuff, and also I have a couple buyers and sellers I'm working with right now that have interesting financing situations, so I'm interested to learn about it. I'm also happy to get the CE credits.
Right. What are you finding in the fix and flip market?
What am I finding as far
In
as?
terms of either finding product
Yeah,
or selling it on the back end or whatever it might
I'm
be.
finding that the good ones go quickly. I mean, when I see a good one that's a diamond in the rough, it seems like it goes quickly, so.
So are you doing your own marketing for that, or are you just doing the MLS thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at everything right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready now?
Yes, I'm Sylvia Howard. I'm with Bill T1 and also had my license since 2003. My husband is a developer, investor, and so we kind of work together. We're doing some fix and flips as well. I have another investor that's doing fix and flips. We're looking for properties. We're looking for creative financing, especially for myself because we lost everything in the boom.
Yep.
So, yeah, just looking, we've always been a real estate background family, and he's all about seller financing and all that. So I just want to make sure I'm in compliance, and I know how it can be done, and, maybe I can buy a house this year.
Yeah, that works. I understand where you're coming from. I went through that same
You
cycle.
absolutely can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And beyond that, is there anything in particular that you'd like us to go over? Because our goal is not just to give you a book and say, here, go do it. Our goal is to say, yeah, here's the book, but here's how you can implement the book. So it's not like going to a real estate school and get licensed and you say, fall get your pass the test, you're good to go. Our goal is to actually say, this is how you do it, or this is what it's about, and then how you can actually put it into play and make money. It's all about money.
One thing that I really want to learn is where to find the sellers.
We're gonna go into that, and also at the end of the today, or whenever we gotta stop at 12, we might want to take one break or two. We can talk about that, or 3, whatever you want. There's a friend of ours who's an agent, and he's in the process of putting together 60 seller carry deals from a listing standpoint. So they're going to be off-market, on-market deals. So if you're working the buyer side, you would be able to get into those first before others. So we'll share that with you too.
What are real estate notes? I saw that on your
Okay.
bio.
In the state of Arizona, and most of the things out west, you have a deed of trust and it's backed up by a note. That's the promise to pay. Okay. In the back east, it's mortgages and a note, but the note is a promise to pay. That's got the terms and conditions. So from what I do, I structure deals. I structure the transaction. Pat does the LO work, I structure the transaction. So because if you do it in the wrong way, or you don't follow good sound financial concepts on that, if down the road you want to sell that mortgage, you're going to get a haircut. And it's a serious way. And I'll go over some examples on on how to do it.
Yeah, let me just clarify one thing too, though. That is crucial, making sure the note is structured properly in case the seller wants to sell the note. But if you back up a minute and apply what you already know, you know that when you go to closing with the buyer at the table, the new mortgage company is there. They've already sold that note.
Usually you sign something saying that you're aware of the fact that it was
Correct.
sold.
That's
And
correct.
that happens too in what we're talking
Right.
about. But
You're
it's,
saying that
this
it's
is,
already sold before it's even funded?
Well, it
well,
depends.
that's very common.
Yeah, no, in the traditional world and in this world too, because in some scenarios, the seller might say, well, I'll do seller financing because I want to get more for my house and I want to sell it faster, but I really don't want to hold the paper. So part of what I do is I bring an investor in there, just like in traditional, and the investor takes out the seller
Right.
or buys them out.
So,
in other terms.
in the mortgage world, notes are a commodity that's sold every day. But then there are also private investors who buy notes. So it's not only big banks who buy notes, it's also private people who buy notes.
Self-directed IRAs.
Perfect, that's a perfect example, and we'll go into that too. That's
Yep.
absolutely great. So you were talking about the crash, so I don't know where it took you, and I don't want to ask that now, but anything you had in your IRA,
Gone.
well, no, could have been protected,
It could have been, yeah.
depending.
Yeah.
But it's a great commodity, so.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Now, when you look at everything, so right now, per February, and per ASREA, the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association, they're saying we're now in a seller's market. It's flipped in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Really?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely.
Change
That's what the
some
numbers are
up.
showing. And Alan Langston, the owner of REA, communicates a lot with Michael Orr, the profit report. And with that collaboration, they said they'd go out on the limb and say, yeah, that's where we're at. And we'll get into that, but that could be this month or next month, and it could flip back. So the point of our course is to have options for you guys, so that no matter what, you can make a deal happen. Especially in the fix and flip world, if the economy changes and you don't get caught short.
Well,
So-
and you get a buyer, and you can't qualify the buyer. Here's the answer. I mean, if they're good people, but they've got some weird thing,
Sure.
here's the answer.
Everybody went through the crash, so
Right.
there's a lot of people out there with that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Does that include people who file bankruptcy?
Yep,
Mhm.
no issues.
Mhm.
No issues with this at all. And we'll get into that.
That's good.
So I mean, if you look at all this, that's our goal. If we strengthen and stimulate, and in terms of where you folks are from, you just want to make money. So as long as the market's strong, or you make your own market strong, it's all good.
I'd like to be able to educate the sellers too, because, there's a couple people I've spoken to and they just, oh no, I don't want to tie my money up like that.
Right.
Well, we'll get into
And
why
they
that.
go, and I want to see my money sitting in the bank where I can look at it. I'm
You
like,
can-
what, earning 0.5%?
Why are you being so
Would you
generous?
stop? You're taking away everything we have to say.
Now, there's another aspect to this. Many title companies say, we won't do seller carry transactions. Many brokers are saying, we won't allow you as an agent to do a seller carry transaction. Now, back when the CFPB and the Dodd-Frank stuff came out last year, Bob Eckley, or Jim Eckley, was on this circuit talking about it. But the net is, and he mentioned this in 2011, that you as agents have a responsibility to give your sellers all the financing options out there. Now, they don't have to go here or not, but it's your obligation to do that. So by not sharing that with them, you're violating your fiduciary responsibilities to them. So with that, and because of this particular document, that's why this class is now legal instead of general. So everything is being geared on being educated and sharing that education, that knowledge to your sellers or for yourself.
So what our goal is to give you that information so that you can convey it to your seller. But if you need help with that further, then we will help you further.
Yeah, it's, people just have these preconceived notions,
They really do.
and they think the money needs to sit in the bank,
I know.
and.
We're going to show you how to show
It's crazy.
them why
You know,
not.
this particular guy that I spoke to, went to his lawyer and his accountant, and they both told him, no,
Oh, don't do that. Oh,
Don't
no,
do
no.
that, oh my God,
Yeah.
don't tie your money up like that, and, you know, I'm
It's
like
not.
shooting myself in the foot. Anything I had to say at that point was, because, you know, I had an accountant and a lawyer telling me,
So the question is, are you an in-the-box thinker or an out-of-the-box thinker? Is your seller or buyer an in-the-box thinker or out-of-the-box thinker? Do you want to go outside those 9 dots or not? And there's a lot of money outside that box. If you stay in conventional wisdom, well,
and that's a good way of putting it too.
it's all how you cast it.
Mm-hmm.
And most attorneys and accountants are absolutely in-the-box thinkers. It's the rare bird that's not.
Right.
Oh, so that brings me to me. Sorry. So who has a listing that we can talk about that's not working? What's going on? What do you see? We saw that the market's changed, and we all know that it changes like that. I mean, I've been through 4 depressions, real estate depressions, and it's like, oh, there it is. So who has a listing they'd like to discuss today?
Anybody? I don't want to dominate this class.
Please.
I actually just sold this listing, but it was on the market longer than I've had a listing be on the market in years.
Okay.
And it was a fix and flip. It was gorgeous, if not slightly overdone, which could be part of the problem. We compared to everybody in the neighborhood. I really don't know what the problem was with this house, other than I got things from people like, we don't like the neighbors, or.
What is the neighborhood?
Over Alta Vista Estates over on Deer Valley and 107th Avenue. It's a very nice area. It happens to be a subdivision that does not have an HOA. So some of the neighbors are a little not so nice looking. We had to like call the city to get the neighbor behind to clean their yard up. You're upstairs looking down at their trash.
Right.
You know, that hurt me a lot. And you know, we ended up selling it for a lot less than we should have. Other properties in the neighborhood were selling, and they were selling quickly, and they weren't as upgraded as ours, and
Well, let me ask
I
you a
didn't have a
question.
pool. That was the one other thing that everybody was like,
Let me ask you a question. If your owner would have done seller financing, don't you think it would have sold?
I don't know, I wasn't getting any offers.
But if you don't put seller financing in there, most agents don't think of it.
Or another way of
And
looking at it.
they won't write the offer that way.
Another way of looking at it, if you imagine, think of a pie chart, and there's 5 pieces of the pie. The MLS buyers are 1 piece of the pie, 20% of the market. When you go outside that to the other 4 pieces, if you add 2 more pieces, which would make it 60%, so would you, as an agent, rather sell to 60% of the qualified buyers out there, or 20%?
Sure.
That's a pretty common
Yeah,
answer.
you really broaden your horizons when you offer seller
So
financing.
you're saying for the seller, if they offer the seller financing and they, you know, get a buyer and create a note, that they can get their money out by selling the note.
Sell the note,
There's a way of making it work,
yeah.
Now-
Without getting a haircut, like you said.
if it's done properly.
You said it's 20% for MLS.
And there'll be a chart there for that too.
Yeah,
So if you
exactly.
take your example, let's just use this. So I look at real estate, it's a money game. It's all it is. It's a job. I mean, you're not here for your looks or for my looks or Pat's looks or whatever. It's a job. So if you look at a traditional listing right here, and the comps are 190 to 200, you're probably going to list it at 200, a little bit less, just to get some activity. And typically, you're going to have price reductions. This is per the National Association of Realtors, so you have reductions of 9 to 11% spread out over the age of the time of the listing. Does that make sense?
Do you have that chart in here?
Uh-huh. I think we do. If not, I'll email it to you, because that was done earlier, but I'll email it to you.
Yeah, this is
I'll get them to you. That's
this
not
is
a
a
problem.
new chart, that's
Yeah.
okay.
And so, maybe days on market now, what Perez Ria, again, I'm not the expert, I'm just repeating, if it doesn't sell in 60 days, it's going to take 120. It's just the way it is. So let's assume that it sells in 120 days. Now, along the way, you have to have an appraisal. And sometimes the appraiser calls out repairs, which may or may not be done if the seller may not be able to afford that. So if you take all this down, all the way down to the bottom, you're looking at a selling price of what, 180 or so, whatever this, when you look at this here, the deductions. Now on the seller, that's a traditional sale. Why isn't it popping up? Okay. On a seller carried sale, you can list it above market. You can typically get 5, 10, 15% more depending upon the price point. Look at seller finance as an amenity just like granite. Because you're offering more to the other pool of buyers, you can get more money. Now to that point too, if they typically sell 15, 20, 30, 40, 50% faster. But if you have 10 houses on the street, one is sell and carry, and you can appeal to 40% more buyers, which is going to sell faster. Because mama wants to get a house. They want to put the kids in the school in the neighborhood. They want to establish roots. They don't want to wait for the BK stuff to go away.
And they don't really care about the extra 10 grand.
No,
I wouldn't.
it's just a few dollars a month on payments.
Can I afford the payment?
So the bottom line, if you compare the two here, this home here is selling at list. Now from the agent's perspective, again the money, if you're selling it for 180 compared to 210, who gets paid more?
Not only that, what about the cost of marketing? And the hassle?
And your time
and the
investment.
phone calls?
And the harassing phone calls. But it's pretty basic. So from this standpoint, and then it depends upon how if there's existing financing on that home, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that, if there's a lot of equity or not. But there are different solutions to this. Did you have a question?
I was just going to ask the same question. We have traditional financing on our home, and if we sell the house, we've got to work with the bank.
It depends.
Okay, that's what I want to learn about.
Okay.
Are we talking about wraps and stuff
Yeah.
too?
Yep.
So with that, if you have an FHA, can't do it.
No, never an FHA.
Can't do it. The title companies won't close it.
It's conventional one.
Then you're good to go. And
Or VA too, right?
you're
VA's
good to
okay.
go. You're good to go.
VAs are good ones.
So if you look at it this way, if you're the seller, would you rather go for 120 days or for 65 days or less? It's all.
Win-win.
Yeah, it's a total win-win. So what we're suggesting is, why not have the seller become the bank? And to your point on money, if the seller's getting back a significant amount of money, what are they going to do with it? This is how you sell it to them. Oh, I'm going to put it in the bank. Okay. So you're satisfied with getting 0.2%. Oh, I'm sorry, CD pays what? 1%? Oh, that's good. Well, what if you could take that same money backed by a security, your house, the note, and get 7, 8, 9% of your money? That's okay. Or would you rather do the Russian roulette, the casino? Or did you see in Market Watch yesterday, Schwab now has robo-stock advisors, computers, suggesting how you should invest your money. That would be a good thing. It's a function of what you want to do. So with seller financing, let's just drill this down here. Selling price at 210, 42,000 down, and people do have money. You typically want to go for at least this amount of money down. So you're not going for everybody. You're not going for the broke people. You're going for people who have mattress money. That's not on here, we'll give that to you. You want to go for the people who have mattress money. Think of all the people who did short sales, they weren't making their payments. What did they do with their money? They kept it. They've got that still. You're looking for that buyer. So in this case, The selling price is 210, 20% down, 42, so the buyer is financing 168. There's an existing loan, going to your wrap question, of 120. The existing payments on that note, on that mortgage, are 572. Now if you look at a wrap, new financing. This is typically the way it's structured. So what we're going to show you is, tease you a little bit on the how and the money, and then we're going to drill down and show you the details after that. But our goal was to get your attention and say, okay, I want to know more on how to implement it. So typically, in this scenario, you're going to want the principal balance on the existing loan was $120,000. There's a second loan of $48,000. That goes back to this scenario here, where you've got $168,000. Following me? Okay? So you're creating two notes, two mortgages. A first at 7 3/4. That is market rate in a seller finance scenario. And you create a second at 9%. So there's two mortgages.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Just
Jump in,
to
please.
clarify, the reason you do two notes is because that ups the yield. So you go to Mr. Investor and say, I would like to sell one or both of these notes. And because you've got that small piece at a higher rate, the yield is higher, and that's probably what they're looking for, is the yield. And that depends on what they'll pay for it.
So you're saying it makes it easier to sell the note if you break it down this way?
That's correct. And additionally, when you're buying a fix and flip,
That's key.
do you pay more than 70 cents?
70 cents.
When you're buying a house for a fix and flip, are you paying more than 70% of value?
No.
If you're going to make money?
No.
Okay. If I'm buying a note, if you're buying a note, would you want to pay retail?
No.
Would you want to pay wholesale? Yes. And why is that? Because if that borrower goes upside down, you're going to incur costs. If the market changes and the equity spread changes, you want to have that cushion. And that's why it's done this way. So in this scenario here, the new buyer is paying $12.45 a month.
Is loan B in the second position?
I'm sorry?
Loan B is in the second position?
That's correct. So this is the original that you're wrapping.
With the 9% second. Because the first was already there, you're wrapping it with that 9%. So you're lending them your equity if it were your own. So you've got your first trust and you're wrapping it with that second trust, and that's your equity minus what they put down, of course.
And what's neat about this too, so they were paying 4% on their original loan. They're getting 7 3/4. Who gets that spread? You do. So if you look at it from the standpoint of the seller, they're making between this number here and the spread here, they're making an extra $673 a month. Or on the year, they're making $8,100. That's good money.
And that's your why. Why would they do that? Because they make money. They've sold the house for more, and they're making money on top of their own money.
So this is what the new buyer is paying. This is what the seller is paying on their original loan, and this would be the spread or the difference, for lack of another way of saying it. Make sense?
So what happens, this is Greek to me, but it sounds very interesting. What happens if that buyer that bought under these circumstances then sells the house? The person is still in the position they
If
were
they
in.
sell the home, the loan's paid off.
Everything gets
Both
paid off.
loans.
So everything's cleared out.
Unless so if the new buyer is a finance buyer,
Mhm.
then all this is paid off.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we've had some people that say, they're the seller, well, we like to make this kind of money a month. I don't want to sell this. And my answer to that is, no problem. We can find you another note that won't pay 7, 8, or 9. You might get 12 or 13 or 14. And this one you can do another